An emotional day, too, in the trial of suspended Greenville County Sheriff Will Lewis. Lewis's former assistant, Savannah Nabors, who you see right there, taking the witness stand, telling the jury about the time she says Lewis sexually assaulted her. And we are live inside the courtroom as her testimony continues right now.
Fox Carolina's Jennifer Phillips has been in court all day. She's been there since yesterday when we started covering this trial. So, Jen, I know right now those tapes are playing inside there now between the two. What else has happened today?
Right, a lot has happened. As you mentioned, Savannah Nabors took the witness stand. She accused Will Lewis, the sheriff, of sexual assault. She's on the stand, and as you mentioned, those recordings are also being played. Now, we also heard from other witnesses who went on that budget trip paid for by Greenville County taxpayers. So take a look. Here is Savannah Nabors as she took the witness stand this afternoon. She filed a sexual harassment lawsuit against Lewis and received a settlement from the county. She says Lewis sexually assaulted her during a business trip in Charlotte, and Lewis hired Nabors and paid her $60,000 with no law enforcement experience to be his personal assistant. She also received an SUV, a parking space, and access to crime scenes and other perks that others say they never had. She says during the trip, she, Lewis, and other administrators with the county had lunch, dinner, and had gone to a bar. During that time, she says she had drinks and shots. She says before the trip, Lewis picked her up from her home and put a bottle of liquor in a bag. She says later that night, he asked to come to her room to get the bottle, and that's when things went wrong.
He started talking about his marriage and how it was failing, and like that they were just in it for the kids, and that he didn't really have like an intimate partner anymore, and so he felt like I could be a really good friend and that he could talk to me about, opening up to me about those things. He sat down on the couch next to me, and he put his arm around me and tried to kiss me, and I got up and I said, "This is not a good idea." And I basically just like tried to bring up Amy, his wife. I remember waking up with him on top of me. He was having sex with me.
Could you remember how you got into that position?
He finished what he was doing and said that we needed to go back to his room to rest.
Nabors says the next morning she felt sick and didn't remember how she got from her room to Lewis's room. She says several hours after the budget meeting started, she joined the group and tried to, quote, hold it together. She says at one point during the trip, when she rejected Lewis, he became angry and began cursing at her, and then the harassment continued. Now, other witnesses took the stand. One, a deputy county administrator who described the relationship as flirty, familiar, and odd. He says he even recalls calling his wife on the phone to tell her about the interaction. He also says that he has never had a budget trip out of state, and then also told his wife that it seemed like their interaction seemed like a high school head football player and a head cheerleader. He also then told his wife that he now thinks he knows why they went to Charlotte. Cody and Victoria.
So, Jen, I think one thing you can't really sense is the atmosphere inside that courtroom. I mean, his wife, Will Lewis's wife, sitting right next to him at times holding his hand as Savannah Nabors is talking about these intimate details. What's the mood been like in there?
Right. Well, throughout the trial since it began, again, this is day 2. She has been very supportive, holding his hand, sometimes even rubbing his head. We understand that she stands by him. Even while Nabors took the stand, she seemed to be very supportive throughout this whole process. Cody?